Shalom. Call Haloyam La Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rahakwadash. Bakta Yahawah, Bakta Yahawashi, Bakta Rahakwadash, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rahakwadash. Shemai, Yasharala, Yahawah, Allahayanapah, Yahawah, Ahud, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rahakwadash. Shalom. And double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elder bishops and the elders and the Akim and the Akwath of the hopeful elect. Shalom. Just want to go into a quick video entitled Easter is Pagan Blasphemy. So we'll go ahead and grab a few precepts. We'll grab one precept. We'll go ahead and get into the history of the word Easter and what it's derived from. And we'll go ahead and shed light on this being a wicked, blasphemous, inappropriate feast day unto the Lord, Yahawah, in the name of Yahawashi. So starting here in the book of Acts, chapter 12, and verse 4, this is where they get the word Easter here. It says, and when we had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to the 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. So there's the word Easter right there. So people will say, hey, look, Easter's in the Bible. That's why, we're doing the right thing by celebrating it. But actually it's a mistranslation. It's a clerical error. There's only a few instances where there's minor clerical errors in the Bible. And they're easily to be, processed and understood. So when you go to this word Easter here, the Bible is true, but there's certain key words. There's a couple words that was a mistranslation. That's why you have to go into the ancient, because the Holy Scriptures was written in the ancient, the Old Testament was written in the Hebrew, and the New Testament was written in the Greek. Because Alexander the Great, so-called great, during the Greek times of 331 BC, Greek became the world's language. And so the Hebrews, the Jews, the southern kingdom over there in Jerusalem were Hellenized, and, the New Testament was written in the world's dominant language at that time, aka, the Greek. That's why the New Testament is written in Greek. But anyway, so you have to do your history and research to understand what was going on, right? So the New Testament was written in the Greek. So the Greek word right here for Easter is what? And it's Pascha. So when you go ahead and get that, it says the Paschal sacrifice, which was accustomed to be offered for the people's deliverance from old from Egypt. So what's this going into? The Passover. In ancient Egypt, what happened in ancient Egypt? The Most High destroyed Pharaoh and the Egyptians, killed the firstborn son of every Egyptian throughout Egypt, and delivered the Israelites with through Moses, right? He chose Moses to lead and guide the Israelites, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. So this Easter was a mistranslation. This was going to the word Pascha. So it says, in the second one right here, it says the Paschal lamb, i.e., mean example, the lamb the Israelites were accustomed to slay and eat on the 14th day of the month of Nisan, the first month of their year. So the Hebrew Israelite calendar, contrary to popular belief, the first month of the year is the beginning of spring, not the dead of winter, not January and the dead of winter. So the springtime, because that's the beginning. That's when all things are made new. The trees come back. That's why I have the pollinization, the pollen, and the fruits and everything come back to are ripe, and it's the new year and around springtime. And that was around the Passover when the Lord delivered the Israelites and destroyed the Egyptians. So, in memory of the day on which their fathers, preparing to depart from Egypt, were bidden by Yahawah to slay and eat a lamb, and sprinkled their doorposts with its blood, that the destroying angel, seeing the blood, might pass over their dwellings. And that's where the word Passover come from. The angel, the death angel, passed over their household when he saw the blood of the lamb painted over the doorpost of their house, of their slaki, of their dwelling. So it says, Christ, that's, mistranslation, Mashiach, crucified, is likened to the slain Paschal lamb. The Paschal supper, the Paschal feast, the feast of the Passover, extending from the 14th to the 20th day of the month, Nisan. So the first day is the Passover, right? Where you eat the lamb and the unleavened bread and drink the wine in haste with your shoes on your feet, because that's how you eat. That's how you hold the Passover. Because it was they ate the lamb. They hurried up and killed the lamb and cooked it and ate it in haste, because they was going to have to flee from Egypt the very next day after the Lord went and destroyed the firstborn of every Egyptian throughout Egypt. So that's how you hold the Passover. And then immediately following that same night, begins the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, where you eat bread 7 days straight without leaven in it, without yeast in it. So that's how you held the Passover. So Easter was a mistranslation of the word Pascha. And then this is the Hebrew word right here, so we'll go ahead and click that. Whenever you see H, that's the Hebrew word 6453, Pasha, or Pasha. So Passover, sacrifice of Passover, animal victim of the Passover, festival of the Passover. So it lets you know that was the origins. You see right here it says what root word, the etymology of this word Easter here in the New Testament was going back to the Hebrew for Pasha, which is the Passover. So Easter is not what, and they took this word Easter, his mistranslation, right, and created a whole pagan, wicked, blasphemous feast day unto Satan and not unto the Most High, and not unto the Messiah, right? When you have understanding, and we could stop right there, but we're gonna go ahead and get some of these screenshots real quick. Give me 1 second. Okay, right here, Diana. This is see, the key foundation to understand all of the heathens, all of these feast days. The ancient Babylonian Empire of Nimrod. All the heathen nations were together, unified as one nation, right? And the Most High, He divided their languages. He confused their languages and gave every nation, divided the nations, their own languages. But before that, they all learned of the false religion and false blasphemous denominations and religion from Nimrod, Semiramis, and Cush. And there's a book called the Babylonian Mystery School. I'm roughly paraphrasing. I have the book somewhere. It's called something Mystery School, the Babylonian Mystery School religion, something like that. But anyway, so every heathen nation, they learned the ways of Nimrod, Cush, and Semiramis, Semiramis was Nimrod's mother wife, which is an abomination. And so in their own languages, they have different names and different cultures, different names and different styles of how they, worship these false gods of Nimrod and Semiramis. Because Nimrod became the sun god, Baal. Semiramis became the queen of heaven god, false god, the moon goddess, the moon goddess. So that's Diana right there. That was just a different name for Semiramis. So you see all those breasts right there, right? That's the goddess, the false goddess of the moon, the false goddess of fertility. Immoral whoredom. So it says, right here, it says, this large city was the place Apostle Paul stayed the longest during his missionary over there in Ephesus, aka the book of Ephesians. The longest during his missionary journeys, Acts 18 and 19. The letter to the Ephesians was written to the believers at Ephesus by Paul. You see, it wasn't written to all Ephesians. It was written to the believers at Ephesus, right? Not all Ephesus. Within Ephesus, within the population of the Ephesians, there are believers amongst the Ephesians, and those are the Israelites that were scattered abroad. Just like today, not all Americans, but only the believers within America. So it's the Israelites scattered abroad, so-called Blacks, Latinos, and Hispanics, Native American Indians today in modern Egypt. So right here it says it says right, a statue of Diana, Artemis. Artemis was a Roman false goddess. That was just another name for Diana, aka going back, when you go back further beyond the Romans and Greeks, all the way back to Nimrod, goes all the way back to Semiramis. So Diana. So in the Zondervan Pictorial Bible Dictionary, I took a couple of pictures here. So Diana right here says Latin, Diana. See, because Latin was the language of the Romans, and Greek is Artemis. You see, because when the so-called white man came into power during the Greek Empire, that was their first time ruler, being a superpower of the earth. That's their foundational nation, or the nation of the Greeks, and all of their stuff came from there. So the Greeks spoke Greek, their original Greek language was Greek, and then when they transitioned from the Greeks to the Romans, their language, their dialect changed a bit to Latin. So Diana is Latin from the Greek, Artemis. Salaki. So the Roman goddess of the moon. The Roman goddess of the moon, a daughter of Jupiter. She was, and that was a false Roman god right there, a male, the father of, the so-called father of so-called Roman goddess Artemis of the moon. She was a twin sister of Apollo. Now Apollo was her twin brother. They were male and female twins. Apollo, he was the god of the sun. And it made me think about, here in America, over in Houston, the space station, right? Like the movies Apollo 13. See, Apollo is the false god, the false sun god, basically going back to Nimrod, which is Baal, the sun god. So all of this is just, all of these names is traced back to Nimrod and to Semiramis, the Babylonian, the ancient Babylonian empire around, the period of the Tower of Babel. Babel means confusion, and that's why America is Babylon the Great confusion. Because all nations are back together as one. First, there's nothing new under the sun, right? Because all nations, the great melting pot of America, the whore, America, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations. They're back together trying to bring that one world government back that was back in the ancient old times, Nimrod. And the Most High is going to destroy this place for that. So, a daughter of Jupiter, she was a twin sister of Apollo, who was associated with the sun, as she was with the moon. You see, Apollo was associated with, he was the sun. Apollo was the Roman sun god, which was just Nimrod, the sun god, Baal, falsely, who was associated with the sun, as Artemis, aka Diana, aka Ishtar. She was the moon goddess, which was basically the Babylonians Semiramis, the mother of Nimrod. She was represented as a virgin huntress, and that's an abomination. There's no, like a woman is supposed to be out there, like a man. But anyways, as a virgin huntress and was widely worshipped. When the Greek worship penetrated Italy about 400 BC, see, Italy is modern day Rome. When the Greek worship, because the Greeks, the Greco-Roman, because Italy, when things transitioned to the Romans, it's like let's keep on reading. It says, when the Greek worship penetrated, that's a whole different topic. But when the Greek worship penetrated Italy about 400 BC, the Italians identified Diana with Artemis. You see, they know that was the same thing. They just changed the name through the different language. Italy about 400 BC, the Italians identified Diana with Artemis, her Greek counterpart. You see, that's the exact same person, but they just changed the name through different cultures. Her worship was pure as compared with the sensual worship of Eastern gods and goddesses. So let's see, and this is continuing on right here. It says Diana of the Ephesians, mentioned only in Acts 19, is Artemis in the Greek, and her myths were of a very different sort. Her silver shrines were little temples containing an image of Artemis as imagined by the Asiatics, a combination of the Greek virgin goddess with the many-breasted and lewd Shemitic moon goddess Ashtoreth. Now Ashtoreth goes back to Ishtar, goes back to Semiramis. For the Ephesians, Artemis was the great Asiatic nursing mother of gods, men, animals, and plants. So she's a great whore, and like the whore of Babylon today, and was the patroness of the sexual instinct. Her images, instead of being artistically beautiful like those of the Greeks, were ugly, more like the lascivious. Lascivious goes into a very wicked sexual lust. Images of India and Tyre and Sidon. Her special worship was centered in the great temple at Ephesus. So all this goes to is just these heathen want to be liberated from the constraints of being sexually moral, and they want to be sexually immoral and commit adultery and just be filthy. That's why the music today represents that same licentious or lasciviousness of sexual unbridled sexual lust that's in an abominable desire. Her special worship was centered in the great temple at Ephesus. The reason for the location there was probably the finding of a very interesting aerolite, which supposedly fell from heaven. These heathen be coming up with all these stupid, retarded, and spiritually remedial philosophies, to create their foundation for their false religions. The feasts of Diana, whom all Asia and the world worship it, as was mentioned in Acts 19:27, were commercialized, and there was a large industry among the silversmiths of making shrines and idols to this goddess. They made merchandise of it, right? They were making the people that was creating these false idols. They were making a lot of money because all of the fools were following this vain, evil, wicked, blasphemous religion. The preaching of Paul interfered with his commerce and aroused violent opposition. See, they got mad because when the prophets, the apostles, elders, and prophets and teachers come out against it, and it's affecting their society, it's affecting their economy, and they wanted to attack Paul for that because he was making a great dent in their finances, for just like they did the Messiah, right? They say if he keep going, the people will believe upon him. And that's why they attack the men that speak the truth, because it destroys their illusion of a society and economy and their money making machine, their cash cow. So it seems, says the preaching of Paul interfered with this commerce, and aroused violent opposition. It seems that Paul and his companions had preached the gospel from the positive side, the righteous side, instead of directly attacking. So you just preach the word, and the Most High does the rest through the Holy Spirit in the name of Yahawashi, and destroy these. It's the and that's the Second Corinthians 10 and what verse 5 or 14, the tearing down of strongholds in people's minds, preaching the word, preaching the truth. For the town clerk testified that they were neither robbers of temples nor blasphemers of our goddess. So there you have it. So it says Semiramis became known as Ishtar, which is pronounced Easter. And her moon egg became known as Ishtar's egg. The egg became a symbol of fertility and life for the ancient Assyrians and spread throughout the world. The ancient Druids bore an egg as the sacred emblem of their order. So see, going all the way back, even before the Greeks. Semiramis. Hislop asserted that Semiramis was a queen consort and the mother of Nimrod, builder of the Bible's Tower of Babel. He said that Semiramis and Nimrod's incestuous male offspring was the Akkadian deity Tammuz, and that all divine pairings and religions were retellings of this story. See, and Tammuz was Baal because, as I read in the past, when Nimrod died, Semiramis wanted to keep the people in subjection unto her now, and Nimrod was dead. So she said that Nimrod died, and he now dwell in the sun. And she said, and when she got pregnant from just having a whoredom relationship, on land, she said that the sun god, that Baal from the sun, he had got her impregnated through the sun rays from the sun. And then that baby that she had was Tammuz, was Baal reborn. And that's a version of the wickedness, of the Messiah, right? On the left-hand side. So all these heathen religions have a retelling of these stories of Semiramis and Nimrod and Tammuz. You can do your research and do your Google and YouTube and do your research. You'll come across all this information. So it says a multifaceted goddess, Ishtar, that's where the word Easter comes from, takes three paramount forms. She is the goddess of love and sexuality and thus fertility. And that's where all those breasts of that idol, that graven image of Diana, which is a version of Semiramis. All of those breasts represents fertility and having many babies, and like it's the mother of all civilization, of all mankind in blasphemy. She is responsible for all life. See that blasphemy, but she is never a mother goddess. As the goddess of war, she is often showed winged and bearing arms. You see, that's that, and then that just reminded me too about about Nike, the brand of Nike shoes, right? And it's their symbol really has like wings on it on the Nike, but Nike is a false either Greek or Roman god of victory. So that's where it's a false. So it's going back to Semiramis as well. The Nike, going to a false goddess as well of the Roman, Greco-Roman culture. So it says, and more broadly, Apollo and Artemis perfectly represent this Greek male-female dynamic. See, Apollo and Artemis, they were twins, twin brothers and sisters. Twin brother and sister. Apollo. So Apollo was very much a representation of the ideal masculine principle of Greek society, reason, prophecy, healing arts, whatever, while his twin sister is a representation of the Greeks' view on raw womanhood. So they just came up with madness for the men and the women of their culture, of the Greco-Roman Empire. Apollo was the masculine version of men of the Edomite Greco-Roman men to follow, and Artemis was the heathen woman, the feminine version, the feminine beacon for them to follow. Which goes back to Nimrod, and Apollo goes back because Apollo was the sun god, so-called sun god, and Artemis was the moon god. That goes back to Nimrod and Semiramis. Semiramis is the queen of heaven, the moon goddess. Artemis was the goddess of chastity, hunting, and the moon. So Artemis was the moon goddess, often depicted with her trusty bow and arrow and a short tunic to aid in running through the woods. This madness. Diana was the twin sister of Apollo. So Diana, Artemis, these are different names of the Greco-Roman false gods and false goddesses. Her symbol, a crescent moon, sits behind her in the sky. So when you look at the Arabs, the Muslims, they have all these different heathen nations have all these their nation flags, their national flags, all have a version of stars and moon and crescent moons in it. Why? Because they're worshiping. Because remember, the Most High say, "Do not worship the creation." They worship the creation more than the creator, right? So they worship the sun, moon, and stars, and that's why all these heathen nations, their flags have stars on it, have crescent moons on it, has moons and has suns on it, right? Because they are worshiping the host of heaven. The host of heaven is the moon, the sun, moon, and stars, which is Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. These heathen are filthy, and they're not going to be saved. They have to be judged for their wickedness and worshiping idols. So it says Diana is a goddess in Roman Hellenistic religion, primarily considered a patroness of the countryside and nature, hunters, wildlife, childbirth. So Hellenistic goes into the Greeks, because during the time of the Greeks, that was the Hellenistic period in which the southern kingdom, the Jews, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, they were Hellenized, and they began, and that's how they got, and they were scattered amongst Africa, Europe, and Asia. And so when the Messiah came on the scene, like 300, 400 years later, many generations of the Jews were Hellenized and knew not the ancient customs of the Israelites, but knew the customs of the Greeks. And when they came back to worship back in Jerusalem, when the Messiah and the word went out through the Messiah and through the apostles, the native Jews were looking at the foreign Jews crazy, because they were like heathen. They were heathen pretty much in the spirit. They were heathen with their understanding and their mannerisms and their personalities. It was a sight to behold. Salakia. So going back, so now Apollo was basically the Roman version of Nimrod, the Baal, the false sun god, and then Artemis was the female version, was the false female version, false female goddess of the moon, right? So this place it proves to you that they're full of mess, full of crap when they tell you that men and women are equal. So back then, why they didn't make the woman the sun goddess, the sun god, right? The sun goddess, because they know the man and woman are not equal. The man is stronger than the woman. So right here, Genesis 1:16, and Yahawah made two, in the name of Yahawashi, made two great lights. The greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. So look at that. You have the sun. The sun is the greater light. It rules the day, right? And then the moon is the lesser light. It rules the night. So that's why they had the masculine Apollo, false male god, as the male for the sun, for the false sun god, right? And then they had the female for the lesser light, the moon goddess, because they know the man is stronger. The man is the stronger vessel and the woman is the weaker vessel. So going to 1 Peter 3:7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. So the man dwell with the woman, knowing that she's the weaker vessel, but giving her proper respects according to her order, right? So that's why, they know, Esau knows the proper order of society, but he want to make want to put a woman over a man and a man underneath a woman, and men can be with men, women can be with women, right? But that's blasphemy. That's abominable. That's an abomination. This place is pure filth. In Acts chapter 19 and verse 27. So that not only this our craft is in danger to be set at naught. So their craft was making those false Diana, moon goddess, goddess of fertility sculptures, and they were making a lot of money off the Ephesians. But also that the temple of the great goddess Diana should be despised, and her magnificence should be destroyed, whom all Asia and the world worship it. You see? Because over there in Ephesus is in the region of Asia over there, and then the whole entire world was worshiping that. That's just another form of Semiramis, of the ancient Babylonian false goddess, false moon goddess. And we'll get that word Diana real quick in the Blue Letter Bible. See Artemis. And right here, Diana equals complete light, flow, restraint. See right here, it says Artemis. That is to say, the so-called Tauric or Persian or Ephesian Artemis, the goddess of many Asiatic people, to be distinguished from the Artemis of the Greeks, the sister of Apollo. Apollo, who the false sun god, and she was the false moon goddess, and the false goddess of fertility. A very splendid temple was built to her at Ephesus, which was set on fire by Herostratus and reduced to ashes, but afterwards, in the times of Alexander the so-called Great, when the Edomites, so-called Greeks, came into power, Alexander the so-called Great, he rebuilt it. It was rebuilt in a style of greater magnificence. So the Edomite Alexander the so-called Great, he rebuilt the temple and made it greater. That's what Alexander the so-called Great was doing. And the Most High struck him down. He died at a very young age. He conquered a whole lot, but the Most High took him down. He was extremely wicked. So now going to Jeremiah 44:19. And when he burnt incense to the queen of heaven, that's Semiramis, the false moon god, and poured out drink offerings to her, a false goddess, did we make her cakes to worship her and pour out drink offerings unto her without our men. So you see, the queen of heaven is Semiramis, aka Ishtar, aka Diana, aka Artemis, so forth and so on, right? And the so-called king of heaven is the sun, because the sun is the greater light in the heavens. That's the greatest light in the heavens, the sun. The king of heaven, that's they made a false god of Nimrod, made him Baal, and then different names he go by in different cultures. They name him Apollo in the Roman culture, and so forth and so on. I have to do more research to see all the different names, of Nimrod being the false sun god throughout other heathen nations. But that's why they have those flags. That's why they have those nation flags with different moon. They have moons on it, crescent moons, sun on it, stars on it. That's showing you that they're worshiping Nimrod and Semiramis and Tammuz, and they're worshiping the stars and the sun and the moon in the heaven. And that's pure wickedness. Also worshiping that cobblestone of the silly Arabs, the false Muslim religion. That's blasphemy and plagiarism of the Holy Scriptures of the Bible. You know, because the so-called Quran, they took our Bible and they added unto it with the Quran, you know. So going back now, going to Jeremiah 7 and verse 18. The children gather wood, and the fathers kindle the fire, and the women knead their dough, to make cakes to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto other gods, that they may provoke me to anger. The Most High, they made the Most High upset, you know. Psalm 7 and 11, the Most High is angry with the wicked every day, and he's angry with the Israelites when they do wickedness as well, right? So the Queen of Heaven, that's Semiramis, that's Ishtar, and mistranslation of Easter. You know, they put there in the New Testament there in Acts 12 and 4. You know, and it's pure wickedness, you know. There's nothing new under the sun. So going to Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun, because all these different renditions of these different nations since the time of the ancient Babylonian Empire of Nimrod and Cush, Nimrod, and Semiramis and Tammuz, every nation, every heathen nation afterwards have their own version. You know, they just change the name of them and their own nation and their own language. And they're doing the same things, you know. Nothing new under the sun, until the Most High go ahead and wipe them out with this thermonuclear fire and force them into servitude unto him, unto Yahawah and Yahawashi and the Israelites in the name of Yahawashi for eternity. And that time is coming real soon, according to the biblical prophecies. Ezekiel 6 and 6. In all your dwellings the cities shall be laid waste, and the high places shall be desolate. These false gods that they worship in, Artemis, Semiramis, Ishtar, Easter, you know, all these things they were laid waste then, they're going to be laid waste again. And the high places shall be desolate, that your altars may be laid waste and made desolate, and your idols may be broken and cease, and your images may be cut down, and your works may be abolished. The Most High destroyed these people in the past, and it's going to happen again. If he destroyed them in those times, why not? Why would he let it slide now? The Most High changed not. Malachi 3 and 6. Ezekiel 30 and verse 13. And when I say if the Most High let it slide, meaning why would he let it pass? Why would he give them a pass and let it go without righteous, just punishments and judgments? Ezekiel 30 and 13. Thus saith the Lord, the Most High Power Yahawah, in the name of Yahawashi, I will also destroy the idols, and I will cause their images to cease out of north, and there shall be no more prince of the land of Egypt, and I will put fear in the land of Egypt. So, and what's modern day Egypt? He did it in ancient Egypt, and the same thing's happening in ancient Egypt is happening now in modern Egypt, Babylon, and Great America, but worse, you know. So why would the Most High not do it now when it's even worse than then? This is the most wicked society it's ever been. So, and most blasphemous and abominable. So, just want to go into that real quick. You know, Easter is pagan blasphemy, you know, towards the Most High, and the Most High will judge it. So, if you're celebrating Easter, the Most High is not pleased with it. He hates you for it, and you better repent unless he judge you for the wickedness. So, that being said, I hope this video was edifying. The waters of Yahawashi by Yahawashi. Another video. Till next video, I say, Shalom.